Arlindo, where?
Oi? You can say?
Just wanting to know if Sylvia's home.
Sylvia is still there. Yeah. Sylvia is still there. Okay. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Moti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satchiguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shachi 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 Om Namaste. Welcome. So we have Swami Paramarthananda squeezing this mantra 7 for our joy. Yeah? We have seen in our previous class. So fundamentally, it's very simple. Turiya is the self, which is consciousness, which is Brahman. It's just a different name for the self. Which is a witnessing, non-experiencing principle, which not a knower or experiencing entity. So we can call it a principle or entity, but an entity that does not experience anything. No? So it's the common denominator of the three experiencing entities: the awaker, the dreamer, and the sleeper, as we know. So the whole purpose here is to understand this fundamental nature of the Jivatma, the human Jiva, so that we can firmly and clearly claim that I am the Turiya, the fourth factor, or the fourth quarter, or the fourth principle, which is I am consciousness, not associated with any one of these entities and their respective universe. We understood that dissociation has to be done intellectually, because Turiya, consciousness, is all pervasive. So it's everywhere. So it is the base or the background, or the substratum on which the three states and the three entities are superimposed or project. They are just a mirage. So we cannot separate the image project on the screen of the cinema from the screen. Say, okay, so let's separate, let's take the screen, no, and then the images are going to disappear. So we cannot separate or undo this association except in our understanding. So the Turiya state does not exist because states belong to the Jiva as experiencing entities, and in order for consciousness to be an experienced entity, it has to be associated with one of those three bodies and interacting with one of those three worlds. And Turiya, or consciousness, fundamentally is free and independent of any agent in any world. No? So Turiya does not exist. So, but we have to accept that from the standpoint of life's experience, I will always be in association with one of these three jivas. Yeah? So it's okay, no problem. So this is the name of the game. In order to be an experienced entity, I have to be associated with one of these three bodies and these three worlds. So, and then I'm experiencing / knowing entity, because self-knowledge is only possible if I am associated with one of these three bodies. I mean, most basically, with the physical body of the visual, transacting in this physical world. So self-knowledge in moksha is only possible, if I am in association, because consciousness with no association or free from these superimpositions is not a knower. It's beyond knowledge and ignorance, freedom and bondage. So that comes later on when the superimposition comes, and then there is consciousness manifest as reflect consciousness, and in that reflect consciousness experience bondage because of the identification with the body. So we must separate Turiya from the other three states, and we need to do that by understanding I am Satya, and everything belonging to this lower order is Mithya. So I am Turiya, I am consciousness. The moment I get this knowledge, I have dissociated myself from the three states. In truth, Satya and Mithya can never really get associated. Why not? Because there is no really Mithya. Mithya is something that appears. It depends on Satya, but it's not real. What is the association between the oasis and the desert sand? There is no association because the oasis is not really existing. You understand? There is no association. And if we take it to exist a certain association, we may say, okay, there is an apparent association. The three jivas and the three universe, the Mithya world is associated to Satya, with Satya, because Satya, being the only reality, it somehow allows the mirage to take place. And then there is association of cause and effect, or apparent cause and effect, due to the power of Maya. So Satya pervades Mithya, but is never associated with Mithya. Mirage water and sand are together, but the mirage water will never be wet by the sand, wet the sand. I am just appearing as the waker, dreamer, and sleeper, but actually I am just free, limitless consciousness all the time. Therefore, Mandukya, when Mandukya says that Turiya is said to be the fourth quarter of the self, it's not really the fourth quarter, but it is the self. Is considered the fourth, the self, which is consciousness, non-associate, so to speak, free from the superimposition, is the force, which there is no force, because consciousness, from the standpoint of our perspective as human jivas, is always associated with the superimposition of Maya. So I should know the Turiya only by claiming that I am Turiya, I am consciousness. And this is only possible in the awakened state. So this is an important point. Okay. The nature of Turiya is described in the mantra 7. Each description is profound, and it's worth meditating on for weeks. Gaudapada will extensively elaborate on this mantra in the later chapters. I am not the waker, the dreamer, and the sleeper, even when I appear as one of these three. I have three appearances, but I am always Turiya. So this is the first part of the description of Turiya. The second part of the description is that Turiya is not an object available in any one of these three states. So as a waker and as a dreamer, although as a dreamer, I'm never really searching for self-knowledge. But supposedly, in any case, if there is a dreamer who is there trying to find the self, trying to find Brahman, so Brahman is not available in any one of these three states. So it's not available in the world, in this locus whatsoever dimension. So the second part is that Turiya is not an object of experience and is not an object of knowledge. So don't search Turiya in any one of these states, most relevantly the awake state. It's not an object of knowledge either. Neither can you see it outside or inside yourself. It's not available for organs of actions as well. It's not available by knowledge, and it's not available by yoga or karma. So you will never get that even by knowledge. This seems to be contradictory. It says that Turiya, consciousness, Brahman, is not available for jnana. So what are you going to say about that contradiction, Lynn?
Then what am I doing here? No, yeah.
How about you?
Can't be known.
I say it has to be known as the self.
As your very self. Right on. So it's not available for knowledge and for experience. You will never know Turiya, consciousness, as something other than yourself. But we experience Turiya all the time, don't we? Don't we? We experience consciousness all the time, don't we? Or is there two consciousness, one consciousness experiencing the other? No. There is only consciousness, and we experience it shining in our human intellect at all times. So it's not available for experience as an object of experience, and it's not available as an object of knowledge, but somehow we experience it 24/7. How so? Not as an object of experience, but the very subject, the nature of the experiencer. Because of what? Because consciousness, Turiya, is self-conscious. So consciousness is self-conscious, and it shines in the human intellect as I am, and I know that I am. So I can experience and know itself as my own conscious existence. Never as an object, but as the very nature of the knower, the very, very fundamental nature of the experiencer, because it's self-shining, it's self-revealing, it's self-obvious. It's all the time shining as consciousness, as awareness. So another description is that Turiya is beyond inference. There is nothing else other than Turiya, and so it cannot be inferred. So inference is based on experience, on sensory experience. So since Turiya is not an object of sense, of the sense, sensory object, so there is no point of knowing by inference, because inference depends on sensory knowledge, sensory experience. So we can know things by inference, but inference depends on sensory knowledge, okay, through the five senses and the mind. So it's beyond inference. Furthermore, there is nothing other than consciousness. So consciousness is just knows itself by itself as the human intellect who, realize this simple truth. Beyond thoughts, it's not available for sensory objectification or mental objectification. No one can claim that he or she has experienced Turiya. It does not have any color or form. So again, beyond thoughts. When we objectify some object, immediately we have a thought of the object. We know that saying that the object and the thought in regards to the object appear together, one and the same. But Turiya is not going to appear as a thought/object. So no one can claim that I have experienced Turiya as an object, because Turiya does not have any attribute. There is no color, there is no attributes that could make it an object, a sensory object of experience. But again, no one can experience consciousness, but we do experience consciousness, not as an object, but consciousness is self-conscious. What is self-conscious? It's just self-revealing. It shines. It's always there. It cannot be denied. It's like the light revealing the world. The light is always there, and it's self-evident. And we miss the light. So we miss consciousness, which is the very true nature of the experiencer and knower entity, although it's shining at all times, as the human consciousness. And the human consciousness is of the same nature of non-human consciousness, meaning to say unmanifest consciousness. You cannot describe it. It's beyond description. Words can function in only 5 areas of descriptions. Those 5 areas are specific substance, like, this is a mango tree, a specific tree. Generic substance, this is just a tree. So those are descriptions. Property, color, and form, varieties of activities and relationships, Father. So any word in any language functions in only one of these 5 areas. Turiya does not fall into any of these 5 areas. Why? Because it's full of attributes and full of association. It is free of attributes and free of association. There is no relationship. There is nothing other than itself. Therefore, there is no anything that could make it like, Turiya is green. Turiya is like this, like that. There is no attribute, include to it. It's one without a set. When there are 2, mean to say that there is change. There are 2 principles operating, and then the most dominant will be the base, and then the other is, we could say, this is inclusion or the attribute, and then we're going to have change. We have duality, we have plurality, but consciousness, as we know, does not have anything that we could say it is like that. The only thing we say about consciousness is that it's synonymous of existence, of limitless nature. specifically, there is no second thing in the same order of reality as Turiya, and so it cannot have any relationship. Turiya cannot be described by any words. Free from the world, Turiya is free from all the 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, millions of universe and bodies. The Upanishad is negating this world itself. How can the Upanishad negate this world when we are experiencing this world so tangibly and solidly? The Upanishad can negate this world only under one condition. What is experienced can be negated only if what is experienced is not real, factual. So the world we experience is an appearance available for experience, but once we closely examine this universe, we understand that it's not real. Just like the blue sky, the blue waters, and many other examples. Turiya is free from the world because the world is just a superimposition. It's mithya. It appears, but it's not really real. How can the Upanishad negate this world? The Upanishad never negates the experience of the world. It always says it is available as an appearance, and it's available as an experience, and but it's not real. It negates the reality. It's similar to the ornaments of gold. They are appearance, they are available, they have a certain utility, but their fundamental nature has nothing to do with those ornaments or namarupas. Their fundamental true nature is just gold. Why we want to get to the bottom and establish our fundamental true nature? Right? Just imagine the rings and every ornament of all that. Oh no, I want to be free from this limitation. What limitation? Oh, now they call me a ring. They don't call me the limitless gold anymore. And then all the ornaments start just going for satsang, want to go back to their fundamental nature, because nobody enjoys a limited, dependable existence as a namarupa. Nothing enjoys. The only freedom is to understand that which is the fundamental essential nature, not subject to any limitation or change. It's very simple. It's not a philosophy. It frees the individual because the individual goes down to the bottom of one's identity. That's why the Upanishads are all about statements of identity. We need to redefine our identity. Therefore, consciousness is limitless, is one without a second, is Advaitam. When there is no second real thing other than Turiya, every second thing is just a superimposition, projection, mirage. Therefore, it is as good as non-existent. So Turiya is non-dual. That's where the notion of Ananta comes from. Non-dual is there is no place where I end and something begins. So, I mean, if there is a place from where I end and something else begins, and then I am limited by what? By space. If there is a time from where beyond that I no longer exist, and then I am limited by time, like the body, the physical body is limited by time. But no, Turiya is Ananda, is limitless because it's the only reality. And that's why it's so important to understand our nature as Turiya. You want to beat this fundamental law that says that anything that's born must die. So we have to just forget about the physical body because it's going to follow that fundamental law, but we can establish our true identity in Turiya, and then we relax because I know that the gold is never going to be destroyed, only the small ornaments. Huh? Turiya is called the fourth quarter only figuratively, but really it's not the fourth quarter, but the only principle available. It's like saying gold, there are several principles operating here. There is Vishwa, Tejasa, Pranya, and Turiya, the four quarters. It's exactly like saying there is gold, there is ringo, there is bungo, and there is chain. Are there really four principles there? No. Because the gold is satya and the namarupas are mitya. No. Simple analogies that clarifies all this confusion that there is a force state, Even though we count four, the gold, the ring, the chain, the bangle, even if we count as four, on inquiry, we'll find only one gold and three namarupas. Therefore, only consciousness is present, and three names, three status are given as the experiencing entities. Therefore, Turiya is always tranquil, ever undisturbed, because Mithya universe cannot disturb the Satya nature of Turiya. So if we measure a situation that you are one without a second, from the standpoint of being an entity who experiences things, just imagine the experiential situation of being one without nothing beyond yourself. Is there a possibility of disturbance, mental disturbance? No. Is there a possibility for boredom? Maybe, because if there is no disturbance, there will be experience of boredom. But Turiya is tranquil and undisturbed because it is the only reality. The Mithya universe cannot disturb its Satya Turiya nature. Okay, and the palam, the result of self-knowledge is nothing but this one. Understand your tranquil nature as consciousness, which is not really disturbed, because I am Satya, and all disturbance belongs to Mithya. One Mithya object can disturb another Mithya object. A dog can bite a human body in the awakened state. A dream dog can bite a dream body in the dream state. Pain will be felt in both situations, as the awaker and the dream. My body, being of the same order of reality as that universe, will be disturbed by it. However, the entire universe can never disturb me as Turiya. So Turiya is ever tranquil. Therefore, Turiya is free from sorrow. Okay, so this has two elements to this. One is the philosophical element, that there is no disturbance, there is absolute tranquility in Turiya, but Turiya is not an experiencing entity, therefore it's not relevant to say that Turiya is tranquil. So one is the philosophy, and we have all these parallels, all these examples and analogies, such as the dream dog and the awake dog, and in which way they relate to their respective orders, you know. And then there is consciousness as the non-experiencing witnessing principle, which is free. But being a non-experience witnessing principle, it's beyond experience in any case. Then there is no much point of experiencing tranquility. Now, so on the philosophical side, it all looks very good, and people tend to say, okay, but this is all philosophy. You know, it's all philosophy, because if Turiya is not an experiencing principle, what is the good about that? Then Vedanta comes and says, okay, but this knowledge is so difficult and so absurd, you know, to be really accepted as a transforming knowledge. It has a certain effect. So one thing is self-knowledge, and another thing is self-knowledge palam, the fruits of self-knowledge. So what are the fruits of knowing my true nature as tranquil, although my true nature is not an experiencing entity? So it does produce a bonus, as I often say, or a fruit, or palam. It's called yanam palam, you know, which is going to tranquilize the experiencing entity as the awaker, you know, by knowing that in reality, in its true fundamental essential nature, he or she is beyond, you know, tranquility and disturbance. And that's where we say that Vedanta is not philosophy, because it must transform our experience of life, transform our life, ourselves, our personality. And that is only possible to know by going through this process. I'm going to share something. Just 5 minutes before I start the class today, I got a message, WhatsApp, that popped in here. I said, oh my God, I don't want to read it before my class, because I thought it could be trouble. And then I made the mistake to read it before class. It's about my neighbor here, who is, you know, he's always looking for trouble, complaining of several things. After 1 year that we have been just like, okay, no more contact. And there is nothing worse than a problematic or conflicting neighborhood. It's terrible. So that's the moment we need to check our knowledge. So I read that thing, I say, oh my God, not again, not again, not again, like that little babe being born in India. No? So not again. But then I say, okay, so is it going to affect my mind for our satsang? I say, no, I don't think so. So let it go, and let's go. On the contrary, the satsang is going to help me to be protect my mind from possible concerns and disturbance. So the philosophical side is beautiful, but the philosophy aspect of Vedanta must fructify as an experience of mental, emotional stability, or balance, you know, equanimity, and so on. That's the only thing there is to self-knowledge. Okay, we look into the philosophy, and the philosophy has to bring about an experiential pattern, which is equanimity, stability, and balance. Why? Because my neighbor can never read fundamentally, truly disturb me as Turiya. And as a Jiva Atma, I have the palam of knowing that I'm Turiya, so that my disturbance, if any, is greatly minimized by this self-knowledge. Therefore, we can infer that our true nature, there is room for inference. Therefore, we can infer, Vedanta use a lot of inference, but not for gaining contact or the knowledge. I am Surya. That's knowledge. It comes when you just see it, how obvious it is. But inference is used right and left in the teachings. So we can infer that Turiya is ever tranquil. Why? Because once I have claimed I'm Turiya, I feel much more tranquil. Once I have claimed clearly that I am Turiya, I feel much more peaceful, satisfied. And then it must be the very source of peace and satisfaction and tranquility. Once I know I am Turiya, so I feel more secure than ever before, in spite of all odds. It must be the source of security, the true source of security, Turiya. And it is, philosophically, we know there is only one without a second. If there is no second, there is no possible conflict. Therefore, Turiya is Shivan, is free from samsara, free from sorrow, free from psychological suffering. Psychological suffering and sorrow belongs to the Jiva Atma under the spell of self-ignorance, as we know. This Turiya is Ananda because it's the only thing, it's alone, the only I, the only consciousness, the only existence. It's non-dual. The other three entities or quarters, they are just roles in analogy played by consciousness. Life is a play, but it can get very serious if I forgot my true nature. And that is just, I'm just playing certain roles as the awaker, the sleeper, and the dreamer. These facts should be remembered at all times. If life appears to be a meaningless, burdensome, boring struggle, life has become samsara. A boring struggle. Very nice expression. Life becomes samsara when I do not understand my true nature. And if I do not remember the fifth capsule of Vedanta, that needs to be remembered by all seekers of truth. By forgetting my true nature, I convert my life into a burden, and by remembering my true nature, I convert life into a blessing, wherein I can claim my higher glory. Therefore, make your life beautiful by knowing that you are Turiya. Beautiful, huh? Then we come to another class, and then he reveals a little bit the mantra 7. This mantra 7 was completed in our class right now. It is the essence of Mandukya, as well as the essence of the Karikas. This mantra gives the definition of Turiya, and every description of Turiya is extremely important in this mantra. But 3 words are to be especially noted: Advaitam, Prapankopasamam, No? Ekata pratyaya saram are the three notions, the three words. Advaita indicates that Turiya is the only reality. That Turiya alone is worth counting because it's useless to count all the namarupas of gold because the only value is in the gold. So I just put all the ornaments of gold in one scale. And then I said, I have 5 pounds of gold. How much is the value? Yeah. So worth counting only the substantial nature of the Jiva Atma as Paramatma alone is worth our interest. I am Satya, the only reality, one without a second. Advaita. One full chapter, chapter 3, Advaita Prakaram, with 48 verses, is dedicated to the commentary on Advaita. Yeah. This is within the Karikas. Yeah. We just did a few months ago in São Paulo. Okay, the second word is prapankopasanam. Indirectly reveals that Mithya nature, the Mithya nature of this universe. Mithya is whatever is experientially existent, but factually non-existent. Many examples are given. Mirage, blue sky, blue waters, sunrise, and the bent road in the glass of water, which appears to be bent, but it's not really. Gaudapada dedicates one full chapter, the second chapter consisting of 38 verses, as analysis on this word prapankopasana, the nature of Mithya. No? This was the second chapter. The third chapter is the nature of Advaita, Ananda, no? Which is a very, very beautiful chapter on this Mandukya Karika. But in this second chapter, Gaudapada established that the Mithya nature of the universe by taking the example of a dream. The dream is essentially existence, but it's factually not there. In comparison with the dream, Gaudapada established that this world, this physical material world, is also like another type of dream. It's very profound, the analysis broken down of this Mithya nature as something just like the dream world in the second chapter. Very profound. We will enjoy it. And then the third is Atma Pratyaya Saram. Is significant because it gives us the methodology to comprehend Turiya. Turiya will have to be comprehended in a unique manner because it's not available for regular means of knowledge. So we have the pramanas that we know we have, right? So perception and inference and the testimonial of someone who has got some knowledge through perception and inference are the most important pramanas as far as knowing things is concerned. But to know Turiya, those pramanas, we can describe them as 3 pramanas or 5 or 6 pramanas, depending on the text. They are means of knowing things in Mithya. Turiya is not an object of knowledge, but it is the very you, who wants to know Turiya. Oh, you are what you want to know. You are what you are searching for. You are what you are looking for. How many times have I heard that in the... Turiya is not something other than yourself. And if you want to know Brahman, you can only know it as yourself. So you will never get to know Brahman or Turiya during deep meditation. You will never find Brahman out there in the world or inside of your mind in deep meditation. This is very bad for people who enjoy meditation, believing that meditation can lead to knowledge and moksha. Yeah. So meditation, there are two types of meditation. The meditation called Upasana that prepares the mind for Nididhyasana, and the second level of meditation is Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is the meditation, Vedantic Upanishad meditation that produces self-knowledge and moksha. But the preparing meditation, which is the Upasana that people do all over the world, will never produce knowledge. And here it says it's never going to be found internally in deep meditation. To understand Turiya, a clue, Eka Atma Pratyaya Saram is given. Self-knowledge or I awareness is the key. When you say I am, you are aware of yourself. I am. This self-awareness, whenever you say I am, is called Atma Pratyaya. It's a continuous self-awareness that says I am, I exist. So because the nature of consciousness is that it is self-conscious. This continuous self-consciousness is Saram, an indicator or the pointer that we need to trace back to our true nature. I am, I exist, I know that I am, I know that I exist, and then we have existence and knowledge manifest spontaneously. And we experience that reflection at all times because consciousness is self-conscious. This self-awareness is always there because I always know that I am. This continuous self-awareness is the saram, an indicator, the pointer, We have to capture the pointer by holding on to self-awareness. Normally, when I say I am, I take myself as the awaker in the awake state, and immediately unconsciously I take myself, I am the body, I add a definition to the I as the body, the waker. But suppose you understand that the I is one and the same through all three entities. And this I is an advertisement of consciousness itself, which shines in the human mind. So I need to capture that advertisement, as Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, and trace it back to one's original true limitless nature as consciousness. Consciousness becomes self-conscious once it shines in the human intellect, and then it shines as I am, and I know that I am. Imagine in the waking state, I say, I slept well last night, and I dreamt in between, and now I am the waker. So I say, I slept, I dreamt, and now I am awake. Indicate that the sleeper, the dreamer, and the waker are not apart or separate entities, but all these three are one and the same I. I this, I that. I. When I say I slept, I can only be something other than the experience of sleeping. Say I slept. Oh, I dreamed very nice dreams. So the I is there. It must be something other than what it is experiencing. I slept profoundly with no dream and peacefully. And so the I is the same. Yeah. And it's always there as something other than what is being experienced. The I is the same. I do not say that, oh, my Vishwa slept, and then my Taijasa dreamt, and my Pranya went into my dreamer slept, and my Taijasa dreamt. No, I say the I slept and the I dreamt, and now I am the I in the waking state. The I is the same. Those states and those bodies, entities experience those states. They are something, other than myself. I am the common denominator of these three entities. This is called pratyabinya, meaning the recognition of all the three I's as one and the same I. This recognition is extremely important. It's a very important clue for self-knowledge. In the 6th verse of the Dakshina Murtistontra, the same phrase was presented. When I equate waker to dreamer and sleeper as the same I, superficially saying this state, superficially seen, it may appear that this statement is wrong, because the waker can never be a dreamer and a dreamer can never be a sleeper, because they are mutually exclusive and they have contradictory adjectives. In spite of the superficial contradiction, we are deliberately, clearly, and instinctively equating them, which is possible only under one condition. And what is the condition? To understand that there is only one I playing different roles. And then Swami presents the analogy. When I equate an elderly person with gray hair, and I recognize that he was my classmate 60 years ago, and at that time, he did not have gray hairs, and they did not have as much wrinkles. And then I say, this man is that man. This Devadatta is that Devadatta, if you remember that analogy. I am temporarily forgetting the contradictory features, of this Devadatta with that Devadatta, with this person, with that person I knew 6 years ago. I'm just eliminating the non-essential attributes or characteristics of this person, and I'm holding on to the person. It's the same person, the same I. Beautiful analogies. Behind the apparent contradictory features of this person now and the person before, the person is one and the same. The features are widely different, but my understanding is that behind the different features, the person is essentially one and the same. So likewise, the I, Turiya, I consciousness, is one and the same, in spite of the three states, in spite of the numerous reflected jivas, consciousness, appearing according to their features, their attributes and qualities and designs. So in order to equate everything as one I have to drop the adjectives, the attributes. At that point of Pratyavinya, which is establishing the equity, there is only one I. I'm dropping the adjectives at the time. The contradictory features are dropped intellectually. Similarly, when I say I slept, I dream, and awake, I am equating all the three I myself, I soham, aham, soham. In that recognition, all the contradictory features, waker status, dreamer status, and sleep status, are unknowingly, instinctively dropped. Yeah. We do that at all times. Yeah? We do it subconsciously. When we see someone and we know that someone is the same person, but I have to remove the apparent contradictions, of the features of the characteristics of this person. Since I am instinctively dropping these three status, I am neither Vishwa, nor Tejaza, nor Pranya. During my fleeting moment, I am remaining as consciousness principle without these three status. During that fleeting moment, unknowingly and instinctively, I am referring to myself as consciousness without the status. At the moment of recognition of the common denominator, one I, one consciousness, I'm establishing, that all difference, all contradictions, they belong to Mithya. Yeah. Once I refer to myself as consciousness, free from all the attributes of Mithya, I enjoy a sense of freedom and limitation. Every attribute of Mithya implies limitation. So I am Turiya at that time without knowing that I'm Turiya. At that time, I'm very close to the teaching of the Upanishad. Once I understand that I am the consciousness principle and that these three status are not mine, they belong to my inferior nature, to the agent, then the teaching of the Upanishad will help me reinforce this understanding. How does the Upanishad do that? Really speaking, the awaker, dreamer, and sleeper are not statuses of me, the conscious principle. These three status belong to the mind alone and not to I, the consciousness principle. So how? The mind is extroverted. That condition of extrovert mind is called the waking state. When the mind is not extrovert, but is turned inward towards its own memories, impressions, vasanas, it's called the dreamer, the dreaming mind. It can happen in the night or during daytime. The resolved mind, when it's neither extrovert nor introvert, is the sleeper status. The Upanishads say that these three status belong to the mind, not to the I. So therefore, even to say the I, I have two status or I play three roles is not really absolutely correct, because those roles belong to those different states of the mind. So, but who am I? Am I the mind? Or I am consciousness? I am the witness consciousness who reveals those three minds, the extrovert, the introvert, and also I am aware of the passive mind in sleep, because after waking up, I say that I did not know anything. Therefore, I was there to reveal that state of total ignorance. non-knowing status of the mind. I'm ever free from the waker status, free from the dreamer status, and sleeper status. Therefore, I am Vishwa Taijaza Pranyana Vilakshmana Mana. I am, therefore, I'm other. Now I remember this expression. I'm other than Vishwa, Tejas, and Pranya. I'm free from these three entities and those three states. I'm something other than. I'm Turiya always. I need not go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi to know this. I should learn to claim here and now as the Jiva in the awake state that the three status belong only to the mind and not to myself as Turiya. It makes sense, huh? Yeah, because as we know, states of minds are those three states. I mean, there are many states of mind, as we know. During the day, we go through different states of mind. But more to the point of these teachings, we have the dreamer and the awaker and the sleeper states. And then, so they belong to the mind. And so any other mystical state or spiritual state, esoteric state, it's all belonging to the mind. It's all mithya. It's all samsara. And I am Turiya. Therefore, Eka Atma Pratyaya is very useful. This is the seventh mantra. Gaudapada will say more about this mantra later on. With this seventh mantra, the Upanishad completes the description of the fourth quarter of Atma and Atma Vichara. Now, Gaudapada begins his commentaries on the fourth quarter. So he goes back to analyzing the nature of Turiya. This last paragraph here is very rich. So I'm gonna mark it here so that we come back to this at the beginning of our next class. Anything from you guys?
This has been just a really rich class.
Oh,
I think that if one just did manana on that little Bengal gold teaching, it's all right there, it seems to me. It's just a lot of manana on this gets you that palam, as you say.
yeah, I agree. Very good class and rich, very, very rich. Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to this paragraph. I'm having trouble to mark it here. So, how are you doing, Mark?
Yeah, very nice, Arlindo. Thank you. It's very obvious, really, that we're consciousness. For me, it's so obvious and so clear. The difficulty is really getting that knowledge down into the causal body and removing the ignorance of the body identity, body-mind identity. But to actually claim consciousness is quite easy.
Yeah, I mean,
actually to live from that perspective is not quite so easy.
yeah, it's exactly as you did put it, because on the conscious mind, we are doing all these teachings on such a profound level. It's very clear for all of us on the conscious mind that I am consciousness, but the palam of that depends on this knowledge to establish itself as vasanas in the causal body. Why? Because we respond, most of our response from the stimulus coming from the mind, from the world, from the parabada, it comes from them, the subconscious mind. And that's where we start feeling like, oh my God, so why I'm reacting that way, you know? It's because there are still some vasanas sitting there, producing certain response which are not aligned with your conscious mind's knowledge, self-knowledge, you know. So that is the process of, as Swamiji puts, of assimilation and internalization. When he talks about internalization of the knowledge, is the knowledge has to go into the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Very much on those lines.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Anything else, Lynn?
I was just thinking when you take knowledge to convincement, then you meet those vasanas happily because you know you're in control. Awareness is ruling the situation.
Can you repeat the beginning? I did not understand the beginning of your statement. When you...
Oh, when knowledge through manana becomes convincement,
Okay.
then it's like you are that basis that, remember the anvil analogy,
Yeah.
you're that basis, and you see those three knowers coming and going and all that their universes project. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
I got your point. It's a very good point. Yeah. Once you have a doubtless self-knowledge, and then it's much easier to deal with vasanas that are going to somehow rebel against those knowledge, you know. But now
and cheerfully.
yeah, consciously you have a doubtless self-knowledge, then let them come. I want them come because I want them to be destroyed in the light of knowledge, you know.
Yeah, you don't move.
Mm-hmm. You don't run away from them.
There's no running away.
Okie doke, my dears. And then we meet again this coming Friday. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Love you. See you soon again.
Okay, many thanks, Arlindo. God bless.